Callie and Jamie, welcome to the Isaacson Brothers and Fox Homes podcast. I believe this is the sixth episode. We'll just say it's
Halloween edition.
Halloween edition.
There you go.
Spooky edition. We can't thank you enough for taking the time to sit down with us. It's going to be all about the two of you that we talked about. Say owners, founders of Fangirl, a women's apparel design line geared towards all the major sports here in Minnesota. Maybe more to come, but we'll talk about that in the podcast. So thanks for being here.
Excited to be here. Yeah.
A lot of kids say these days, we go back, but the two of you do go back. Walk us through how long you've known each other and how it's gone from friendship to business.
Well, Jamie and I fought over a boyfriend in second grade or third grade, I think.
Oh my goodness.
We won't say his name. And I mean, we were neighbors. We lived right down the street from each other. Grew up, always really close. Same group of friends. And then in adulthood, stayed close. We had Jamie was the maid of honor in my wedding. Traveled together, Costa Rica, Banff, Mexico, I could keep going on. And we always had like a bunch of ideas through probably like our 20s and a lot of bad ones.
It's okay.
Naturally.
Yeah. That we're glad that we did not follow through with probably.
Yet, anyway, at least.
Yet, right.
Yeah. And that's what today's going to be all about, is that journey from idea to where you are right here today, and obviously the exciting future that's coming up for the two of you and Fangirl in and of itself. Segueing off that point, just from ideas to actually making that idea happen. I know that you had meetings with each other that you knew that you had that itch, that you wanted to do something. Walk us through when you started to scratch that, and in that moment where the two of you looked at each other and said, this is probably something that we can do. How did that come about? Did you know in the back of your heads that this is going to be it? We want to do something? Or walk us through when that moment came about for the two of you.
Yeah, so we were meeting every Monday at a local coffee shop. We'd just sit down and go through ideas. We kind of started officially getting serious about it after the 2018? Yeah, Minneapolis Miracle. We were on a girls' trip. We were watching the game, and
Drinks were flowing.
yeah,
Those are always the best ideas. We're
having a great weekend up north, and we were just like, we need to get together. We need to start thinking about this, get serious about it. Not even really knowing we would land in the sports world or land on the idea that we did. Started meeting every Monday and had a lot of really bad ideas. Sometimes we would have no ideas and we'd just sit and talk about our weekend or whatever it was. And we were trying actually to go watch a football game downtown and kind of went shopping and we're looking for something to wear. And we were like, there is nothing. I want none of this. And that was really what kind of inspired Fangirl and led us to where we are.
Yeah. And I feel like in talking to like friends and family, once the idea kind of sparked, it was like, what do you think? Do you feel like you have good options for like game day? And everyone was like, there's nothing out there that I want to wear. It always fits weird. The designs are too like bright and flashy. Like there's just not a good market for it.
Definitely. And once you had that light bulb moment, did you say this is something that we wanted to go all in on and pursue, especially when you got that positive feedback, knowing there was that need in the marketplace?
Yeah, we definitely decided to go for it, but neither of us really knew where to start. We didn't know anything about apparel. We didn't know how to create what was in our minds. So, I mean, it started in like my mom's living room, and we were ironing transfers onto t-shirts, like with an iron.
Like an iron.
Very nice. Okay. Wow.
So, I mean, like, this is like business that started in your garage situation. It was just a living room.
I could be wrong, and Sam will probably look this up after to prove me wrong. I think Apple may have started in a garage. So yeah,
Amazon too, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where all great ideas and companies start. You got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
What was it? Do you remember that first order in terms of, did you make it for a family and friend, or did someone tap you on the shoulder to say, you know what, I've actually been thinking that I need this too? What was that? Do you remember that actual first order?
On Etsy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we started just there, and I think we got probably 10 to 13 orders maybe.
Yeah.
And I just think about what we sent them and it makes me kind of sad. Like, I think we were like, this is so cute. And I think really we were just like, we actually made a t-shirt and we're pretty excited about that. And then, yeah, I mean, it was exciting. I think we thought it went really well. I mean, it did.
Yeah.
As far as like it being our first like 10 to 13 orders, that's a big deal back then when you haven't sold anything.
Very much so.
Yeah.
How did you decide on the name? Was that kind of the easy part, and the hard part was actually implementing the ideas in and of itself? How did that come about?
Jamie, I don't know.
I have no idea. I was like driving in the car one day, and I think I do my best thinking in the car.
Yeah.
And we were just trying to think of ideas. I don't even remember any of our other ideas.
I don't think
just
we had
remember,
any.
Like driving, and I don't know if I heard someone say like fangirling on the radio or like some reference, and I was like, that's it.
I was actually
No
just
question.
thinking about this the other day, and I was like, would we, like laying in bed, just thinking before bed, I'm like, would we be where we were if Jamie didn't have that great idea? Like, what if we were called something terrible? Like, what, I don't know what else I've never thought of, like, we could have been called this. We could have been called this. There's never been anything else that has come to my mind.
Yeah.
So
It stuck. It fit.
thanks,
Yeah,
business
it's
partner.
Super memorable. It's very neat. And so is there an artist between the two of you? Is there a more creative, or how do you come up with such amazing designs? Because I mean, you're in a clothing line, it's art. So do you have partners, or all those ideas just your own? How does that process look like?
Yeah, I don't think one of us is more than the other necessarily as far as our designs go. We kind of put our heads together and come up with some ideas, and then we work with the designer. So we'll send the designer, this is what we want to see, and then we'll say, but also please feel free to be your creative self and give us some ideas as well.
Do you test anything before you come up with that design, either with your own inner circle, family, friends, or once the two of you collaboratively decide, is there kind of pushback between the two of you, and once you end on that finished product, then it's just let's go live on it? What does that process look like for you two?
Sometimes, I mean, I'll always run them past like my sisters, or like, we'll be like, oh, look at this new deck of options that we have to choose from, just to like people in our circle. Sometimes we'll post and kind of make it interactive for our Instagram and be like, here's some ideas we have. What do you think? What do you think for colors? And get thoughts there. But also I feel like 4 years in, we normally can get a deck of designs from our designer and be like, that's going to be a hit.
Doing it enough,
that is going to be
that.
a banger. These are going to be our 2 best sellers. And then everything else, obviously people will still like, but yeah, I feel like we've gotten pretty good at kind of pinpointing what's going to be a hit. So
Definitely. What has been the challenge being in this far? I'm sure there's obviously been ups and downs for any type of business. What's been a time to where the two of you looked at each other and said, maybe we shouldn't do this, or we're actually scared because of the environment or feedback? Has there ever been that moment where you either doubted yourself or asked yourself the question, was this a bad idea? Among those millions ones that we had back in the coffee shop, have you experienced anything like that?
I mean, I feel like we have bad ideas every day.
yeah,
That's kind
a
of
good lesson.
just the nature of being your own boss, kind of. Like every time you make a decision, it's like, this could suck, and it's on you, But I feel like I'm trying to think of anything specific. I can't think of anything right now.
Did the competition ever scare you? Similar to like real estate, there are a ton of real estate agents just locally here in the Twin Cities, and there's a ton of...
None better than two of us.
None better than
Of course
the two
not.
of us, obviously. But there's a lot of different clothing creators and content creators. Did that ever scare you, or did you have the blinders on and you just went to your mission? Because a lot of people, when they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to start their own business, they sometimes compare, and they don't take the big leap. It sounded like each of you looked at each other and you just ran with it. You weren't ever worried about the competition. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I'm thinking about when we did work out of Jamie's garage. We did work out of a garage as well as a kitchen. Jamie, you had that whiteboard up, and it was like 4 values of, I don't remember what the other 3 were, but one of them was like, it wasn't like everyone deserves abundance, but it was like,
there's enough for everyone. Like,
Yeah.
there's enough in the pie for everyone,
Yeah.
and
Well said.
everyone brings something different, essentially, is kind of, I think, what
Yeah.
we're trying
Yeah.
to say with it.
and I feel like that's just I feel like it's the attitude I've kind of kept going through this, is like, there's just just because there's someone doing something similar doesn't mean that they're going to take the pie. Like, you can still be in the same market as somebody and have your own brand. And there's just like ways that people can coexist and still be doing the same thing. and you can still be successful.
It's a great mindset. It's probably one of the main pillars that got you to where you are today and the exciting future, which we'll soon talk about. That's called a teaser in the business, Sam. Look that up. So you're in the garage. Orders come rolling in, and you probably looked at each other and said, "This is working. This is actually working." When did you decide that, okay, let's kind of level up and take that next step as you're getting kind of closer to that diving board to say, this is something that we want to dedicate our lives to? Walk us through that moment where it was, let's take the next step here together.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it came really quickly for us in terms of when we realized it was going to work, or that there was the potential that we were thinking. It was the first fall, the first like football season, and we woke up one day and had like 200 orders or something like that on our website. And we were both terrified because we were still making these shirts at the time. Like,
we got a
by
heat press,
hand.
not with an iron anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had improved our systems, but it was like definitely still like very much like manual on us to make all these shirts. So we just like looked at each other and we're like, oh my gosh, what do we do? This is going to take us forever. Like, here we go. We got to get moving. And that was kind of shocking. And then eventually, like, we just really had to streamline our processes and like found ourselves a screen printer. We have an amazing photographer, our designer, and for at least the last 2 years or so, we've been with them.
Very cool.
Solid, but I don't remember the question.
You're
It's okay. I don't either.
And Sam tells me that every day. It's basically step 2 in your growth, and your marketing has been monumental in your success. The two of you probably already know that. I'm sure people tell you that all the time. Your online presence is beautiful. Your website is great, and obviously don't need to tell you the product is gorgeous as well too. What has been the catalyst behind that? Has that been the single best item that you've been working together collaboratively on to get to that point? Is it all marketing? Have you maybe thought, okay, let's kind of go with something else? We'll talk about the Shields relationships, but how important starting out was just the sole marketing piece, knowing that you had to nail that to ultimately get customers to come to you?
Yeah, it was everything. I mean, that's how we've brought everybody to Fangirl. We did make our website on our own. I will say that. We've never had a website designer. That's kind of been the nature of Jamie and I just in general since the beginning. We're just like, let's just figure it out. And very scrappy, I would say, is a good word for the two of us.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, as far as like our online presence and everything, I think Fangirl in general is just like easy to like make a community out of, because I mean, it's all women that like the same sports teams and like being a fan of sports. And it's been fun to like not just market on Instagram, but create a community of women, and then like also have, you know, like Vikings wives, like Caitlin Thielen, I think was the catalyst actually to that day that we woke up with all of those orders because she posted on Instagram. Kind of turned into like a formula there. Like, okay, like let's just get this community of women in Fangirl and then make it feel like you're coming to our page, and it's kind of just bringing that feeling that we're going for.
Definitely.
Yep.
What has been so once the marketing piece is there, you probably had a goal or a conversation with each other saying, let's see if we can get in a store. You know, we talked about the licensing a little bit before we started, but how did the relationship with Shields come about? I know, obviously I'm not a retail expert. I know very little about it, but I assume that it wasn't easy getting into Shields. Walk us through that partnership, how it happened, and how you ultimately overcame that first no to get it in. I believe, obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably started small and has grown from there. Walk us through that relationship on how it started.
Yeah, we started in just some small like local boutiques, you know, small 10, 15 pieces here and there. But we were just looking to get our name out there in a way other than our social media. And so we just started sending decks with all of our, you know, slideshow presentations with all of our new collections, probably for 2-ish years. We have a contact who's in a similar apparel space, and he had gotten into Shields. And so he basically just was like, here's an email address, like he's a buyer, like give it a whirl. So yeah, about for 2 years or so, we would just send them all of our new styles.
Did they get back to you every time?
No.
Never.
Never really heard back, or like, oh, that's cool, I'll look into it, and then crickets. So we're like, all right, we'll just stay persistent. And then finally, it would have been last fall, they reached out to us and they were like, all right, we want to order some of this row the boat stuff. We need some women's, Minnesota row the boat apparel for football season. And that was our first order. Started small, but obviously it was really exciting. And then this year it's just grown. They've brought in a bunch of our Vikings apparel and are working on some hockey as well, and kind of are just planning on bringing in Fangirl for every sport. So
very exciting.
Yeah.
How important has football been to the business? Would you say that's the number one performer for your lines?
Yeah, easily. Like Jamie mentioned earlier, it's like January, February, March, we can go on vacation, like relax a little bit. And then it's a little bit, I don't know, maybe slower during baseball season. But then once August hits, it's just picks up and we put our heads down and we get to work for the next until the end of December, really. And it's nonstop, especially because it overlaps with the holiday season.
Taking a step back and going back to the social media piece, have the two of you always been in charge of that? Did you outsource it to someone, or was maybe one of you in charge solely on either, say, Instagram or Facebook, so to say, or were the two of you always working together on that end?
Yeah, I have done the Instagram since the beginning, and just recently we have a social media person working for us to do like our calendars and everything, which is really nice. Just kind of take the day-to-day off, and she's amazing. So it's nice to have help there. But I mean, it's been us since the beginning. There's really, other than like the printer and the designer, it's everything you see has been the two of us.
You've created the community. And one thing I wanted to ask is, I saw about a year or two ago that you had a bus, I think, with your community, and you went to a Twins game. Talk a little bit about that. It was kind of like an event that you threw, right? And then you brought your, fangirls together and you had a fun night, or what was that all about?
Yeah, it was like take a fangirl to a Twins game, basically, and we rented a party bus and started at a local brewery in Minneapolis, and all met there. And then with your ticket, you also got a fangirl shirt, so everyone came to the brewery and grabbed their shirt, so we're all wearing fangirl, and it was open to whoever. I mean, it was couples and friends and groups, but that was a blast, and just got everyone together, and it was so fun to meet people. I mean, I think a few of the girls drove from like Fargo and got a hotel. Like, it was just a great time, and it was really fun.
It shows you the reach on how.
Yeah. And to just like have people come out who maybe otherwise wouldn't have gone to like the baseball game. It was just kind of cool. It's like, all right, we really are like bringing women into sports, and it was a good night.
Jamie's good at throwing a party.
I keep on checking my mailbox, and there's nothing.
No one invites you to parties.
I haven't been to a party since
your best friend sitting behind
school.
you right now. So. But my iPhone tells me the year is 2022, and the year is going to quickly approach to an end. And the two of you have something exciting coming up, not only to the end of the year, but going in the future. Talk to us a little bit about that, what you have coming up to end 22.
I don't think a lot of people know, actually, that on the other side of Fangirl, we've both been working full time for the last 4 years. So we're in year 4, and we both still have jobs outside of Fangirl. So 2023, we're taking the leap, and we're going to go full time.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Exciting.
Very exciting. How hard was that? Because I'm sure that a lot of women and girls have probably tapped you on the shoulder and either DM'd you or text, or you heard of a friend of starting their own business. How challenging was that to have both of those hats on? Did the two of you ever look at each other to say, I'm spent, right? I mean, there's only 24 hours in a day, and as your business continues to grow, that's the busiest time, obviously. What has been the most challenging aspect in balancing both of those pieces? Yeah,
many times we've looked at each other and said, I'm spent. I think Jamie and I do such a great job at we're friends too. So just like having an understanding when the other one's busy and when we maybe need to, help the other one out and vice versa. So I think that was a really, really important part of managing it is, I had, along with Jamie, had a million ideas that I wanted to do. And I was like, I will never make anything work unless I have a business partner that's going to keep me in line. So
I hear you.
Enter Jamie. And, so I think just the relationship between us two and being able to help each other in times that are busier and not busier was huge part of being able to get through it.
Would you define your friendship as the catalyst and the foundation that has helped build you to this point? Would you look at it and say there's no way we would have been successful if we either, were brought together from outside individuals, as you say, without a doubt? If you weren't, going back to the history that we talked about, if that history wasn't there, would you come to the conclusion that you would not be in this space and how successful you've been so far?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, everyone always says, don't go into business with your friend.
And how do you respond to that when someone asks you something like that?
And we always are just like, haha, yeah. And they'll look at each other. We're like, we got so lucky. I don't know. It just worked. And I can totally see how maybe that blows up for some people. But I also think for us, we've always just had such like an open, honest friendship. I mean, we've known each other for so long and have just, been through like every phase of life and changes and are turned into such different people even than we were when we were younger. So I think we've just been open and honest, and that's helped us grow the business and helped us, with boundaries and like Callie said, like finding times when one person is super stressed and then the other person picking up some slack. Like I think the foundation of that friendship has helped us get where we are.
It's a lot more fun.
Yeah, to say that.
It's a lot more
that
fun.
way it doesn't feel like work, right? I'm sure there's been times where you're filling orders and you see that cart, so to say, getting sent back to you of a new order. You probably have never once thought to yourself, this is work, right? I mean, is that obviously the benefit of doing what you do as well, seeing it take off?
Yeah, I would say the challenge is like when we want to get together for Fangirl, it's like hard to be like, okay, we only have like an hour, but I also want to catch up on life, but we have to get to these topics or whatever. So just like the time to be both business partners and friends is probably one of the challenges.
Totally understandable. Where do you see Fangirl going? Obviously, your presence here in the Twin Cities, and you talked about Fargo as well too when they came down here. Where do you see it going? Where do you want to see it going? What's kind of the next 2 to 5 year play that where you ultimately want to take it?
Everywhere.
You see it going across the country in different markets?
I see it scalable.
Yeah.
Maybe. Don't want to speak for you.
I think so too. Not tomorrow, but maybe over the next 3 to 5 years. Start dabbling in other markets. Maybe stick to the Midwest at first, minus Green Bay.
Of course.
All of our Packer
Sorry.
fans out there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It's a rivalry. We cannot deny it.
Yes.
It's true. It's true. My wife is from Wisconsin and she's going to be devastated, but I'll tell her to get over it. So the aspect of the business in and of itself, I think the relatability factor of it is probably one of the coolest things that I can see someone pulling up your website, and the apparel in of itself I feel is secondary. I think it's that community and the relatability that you've built. It's not something where someone may look at and they feel it's out of reach. So to say, I feel that it's just my opinion, obviously correct me if I'm wrong, is that someone looks at it and says, well, that's me. That's why I want to wear something like that. Was there a formula with that, or you just said, we're just going to be ourselves, put our best product out there, and it'll kind of take care of it itself, so to say?
Yeah, we just decided to start creating things that we would actually want to wear, and not things that we just want to wear to a Vikings game or to a Twins game or an event. Something where it's like, it's Friday, I'm going to go out shopping, I want to throw this sweatshirt on because it's cozy and it's cute. Brunch, lunch, out and about, like nothing that's on the market now that people just have to buy for a specific event because it's a jersey or it's bedazzled and pink, or just, we wanted to just relate to like the Midwest girl and what they wear on the daily basis and bring the sports element into that.
The sports elements, you were telling us a story about the Gopher apparel, the Roll the Boat line, and again, I think it's great clothing pieces in of itself that you guys have done. Walk us through how that relationship came about, the backstory with PJ Fleck, and how kind of that all came together.
Yeah, it was right before COVID, so it had been 2020 winter. I did like a women's masterminds marketing group, and someone there was the wife of I think the offensive part of the Gophers.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. I'm afraid I'm going to
He's
get
a
that wrong.
coach.
Yeah, he's coach, and she was just like gung-ho, like, I'm going to connect you with Heather Fleck, and you can get on with Row the Boat. She would love that. And a couple weeks later, Jamie and I met with Heather Fleck. She's amazing. Such just a powerhouse of a woman.
Just as energetic as PJ, I would assume.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And fun to be around too. Like she's fun. And she kind of had like, I feel like the same ideas as us as far as like we wanted to be approachable and easy and like not too flashy and everything.
Did you bring those designs to her, or was it kind of a collaborative effort between the three of you in terms of what that end product would look like?
Yeah, we would bring designs to her and then kind of get her feedback on them. So here are the options. What ones are your favorites? Along those lines. And then we eventually got licensing to row the boat through that. And 10%, our licensing fee essentially is 10% of our row the boat sales are split between the Flex, two favorite initiatives. So Ronald McDonald House and Masonic Children's Hospital.
Very cool.
Was that a pinch me moment after that meeting? You kind of, the juices are probably flowing after that meeting, I would only assume, right? And you felt like on top of the world.
Yeah.
Quite the moment.
We were like at a Starbucks and we were like, how did that just happen?
Yeah.
And how is that so easy? Like,
Yeah.
She basically walked in and was like, okay, what do you want? And we were like, well, here's our idea. And she's like, okay, sounds good. Yep. We'll have our,
Yep.
people reach out to your people
Yep.
and send over all the rights to everything.
Why can't it
and
always be that easy?
Yeah,
Literally.
right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
With the year winding down, what do you see we talked about brick and mortar a little bit, touch base on that to expand on if you see that in your future or if you see it strictly being online. Where do you see the footprint of the brand and Fangirl going into 2023?
Yeah, I think that we have a very strong online presence, as you said, and I think that's our bread and butter as far as like how we'll sell directly to customers. And then we are growing our wholesale business by a lot this past year. We've always kept our business very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Lean?
Like, yes.
Walk us through
So
that.
lean.
So if my wife will have to order Minnesota apparel,
Yeah.
but if she orders something, you're creating it right then and there, right? You're not having inventory on hand where you're then sending it to the customer. Walk us through that process when someone clicks the purchase button on your site.
Oh yeah, we definitely now have inventory on hand.
But previously you didn't, and that's kind of that lean factor. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that scalability, because you probably made that conclusion that, okay, this item is selling more than this item. You kind of built it up from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our heat press is dusty. It has not been used in a while.
Yeah, everything now is like designed and then printed in like bulk essentially, and we have lots of inventory on hand of all of our styles, and that just makes the fulfillment process that much easier. So you click order, and in 1 to 3 days we get it all packaged up out to the post office and it's on its way. So
Magic of
What a
e-commerce.
time to
gotta
be
love
alive.
it.
Yeah, right. In the beginning, I think this is kind of fun to share. Like in the beginning, I think Jamie and I both put maybe like $400 to $500 in the business each, and then like paid ourselves back within like 3 months. And we've
Wow.
since then we've been very lean. I will say
Yeah.
we could be less lean, really.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe an initiative for 2023, but that's a conversation obviously
Yep.
outside of the outside of the
Take some
podcast.
notes.
Yeah, well, as his videos, we can go back and watch it.
Yeah,
we'll
you
learn from
can't
the
fire me,
experts. I can't make any promises.
No.
What has been? I mean, it's a very inspirational story, and it's obviously a story about success, and that's been the theme of our podcast in terms of something creative, something out of nothing. Have you ever taken a moment where you've stepped back to say, "Wow, this is happening, that it's actually going," or are you in the mindset of, you know what, I actually don't want to stop and think about that, because if I do, I'm afraid that not necessarily fall apart, but where are you now compared to those initial conversations back in 2018, and how would you define that process?
I feel like it's been a roller coaster. I feel like that's just the nature of, having your own business. But, I think a lot of people think it's linear and you just grow and grow and grow, but it's really just like up and down. I mean, I think in the, that day we got those 200 orders, it was like, this is happening. And then maybe a couple of weeks later, something happened. It was like, this is not happening. So really back and forth, ping pong match for as long as we've been around, really.
What are you telling either young girls or women who ask you about starting their own business? What are you telling them in terms of, obviously it can be done, but what's the main piece of advice that you're giving them when they ask you what it takes and ultimately how you've done it yourselves?
I think the biggest thing is you just have to put the work in. Like everyone has ideas. We had multiple ideas, and not saying any of the others would have worked or been as successful, but you really just have to like go for it and go all in and learn as you go. Like I said, we didn't know a thing about creating apparel, how things were printed, how to fulfill, how to build a website. We literally knew none of it, and had really no background in it. So just to like work hard and go for it. Don't like be afraid to ask questions, like build a network and a community around you or in similar spaces that you can reach out to, and yeah, just go all in and don't do it the easy way. Like so many people now are like, oh yeah, you know, my parents gave me $100,000 and I'm going to go start a business, and yeah, I'm going to build an app and this and that. And they just go pay everyone to do it. And it's like, start small and like grow it and learn it. And then you can start to outsource as you grow and, you know, obviously invest in improving your business. But
Yeah, I think some of the best advice we ever got was in the very beginning when we were just like flinging ideas back and forth and back and forth. It was like, stop with the ideas and just go from 0 to 1. Like we could sit and talk every day at coffee on Monday about all the things we want to do. But like if that's step 8, 9, or 10, you're never going to get to 8, 9, or 10 if you don't get from 0 to 1 first. And that's, I feel like, how we ended up actually creating something rather than just talking about creating something.
Well said. You mentioned the ideas. I think that's kind of a common theme throughout the conversation as well, too. What is an idea that you want to take and bring it to life into 2023?
I don't know.
an idea for
one singular idea.
Yeah, either something that you want a new type of line. I mean, we talked about the
soccer
kids
or
apparel.
anything
What
like
is
that.
maybe
Baby?
something? Well, yeah. Is that again? That's another tease, Sam. Is that where you say the company is definitely going next? What do you envision there?
Well, now that we're gonna be full time in the next month or so, I feel like the sky's the limit. So I can't really pin down one idea, but maybe baby toddler apparel.
Mommy and me type.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then also expanding our team selection. So get into some basketball, soccer, some of the other sports that people are into.
Very exciting. Can't thank you enough for the time. It's awesome, obviously, to spend a few minutes with you to learn from you as well too. And again, it's an amazing success story. Tell people who watch this and listen to this how they can find you and where Fangirl is.
Yeah, www.fangirlmn.com. Instagram, fangirlmn. Yeah, and we're at Shields.
Yep. 8 of the Minnesota locations, South Dakota, and 3 of the North Dakota locations.
Exciting. Again, thank you very much for the time. And that has been the most recent episode of the Isaacson Brothers and Fox Homes podcast. Thank you again.
Thanks so much for having us.
Let's go. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.